Hello and welcome to this episode of the John-Henry Westen Show, coming to you from Rome, where I'm very excited to be with someone from Brazil itself. Brazil, of course, has 64% of the Amazon within Brazil. So our guest today comes from a place where the Amazon is in his backyard. Stay tuned to hear lots about what he's going to tell us about the Amazon.
A brilliant Catholic commentator has taken Brazil by storm, totally outside the mainstream media. Bernardo Kuester is a recent convert to Catholicism, and his searing critiques of the liberal outrages by bishops in the region have become legend. He's famous for interviewing Brazilian President Bolsonaro, and with 800,000 fans on YouTube and 300,000 on Twitter, he's hard to miss. He's taken on the Amazon Synod, and we spoke with him in Rome.
Let's begin, as we always do, with the sign of the cross. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. I'm going to introduce you today, folks, to Bernardo Kuester, a very famous, popular Catholic journalist, YouTuber in Brazil. In fact, the largest YouTuber in Brazil, and just eating up the airwaves online and having just an unbelievable result. Welcome to the show, Bernardo.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Good to be with you. I want you to start, if you wouldn't mind, with your faith. You're a Catholic journalist.
Yeah.
What brought you to this kind of faith? I heard you weren't Catholic to start with.
I was baptized when I was, 3 months. I was baptized, but then I was not well catechized. So that's a problem in Brazil. The catechesis is, horrible. And then I became an atheist, like agnostic mostly, a communist, a Trotskyist. Yeah. But for other situations and reasons, then I became a Baptist, an evangelical. And then after that in 2016, so it's not so far, I became a Catholic and, very, I should say, ready for battle, St. Gregory said that those soldiers that abandoned the battle and then return, mostly, they went to battle, to repent or to show repentance from their past. Yeah. So I'm one of those.
I'm one of those
soldiers.
too.
Yeah. From the 11th hour.
Yes, exactly.
I'm one of those. And then I became a Catholic because of also the influence and intercession of the Saint Teresa of the Little Flower.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, he just made the rose miracle in my life in the 9th day of the novena. And that was wonderful. It was one of the key moments of my Christian life because I already was, I accepted everything about the Catholicism, the Holy Mary, everything else. But I wasn't sure about the reality of the communion of the saints. So I said to God, I want to prove. I want to see if this is true because I was a Catholic baptized. So a friend of mine, she said, so pray the novena from Saint Teresa of the Little Flower. And I did. And in the 9th day, in a book called Introduction to Christianism, I found the rose. So it was wonderful. Oh, wow. And the rose was alive and smelling. It was perfume, rose perfume. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
And then, I'm okay. I believe in the communion of the saints. So let's go to the battle. Yeah, and I'm a passion to the truth. Mm-hmm. The obedience to the truth. This is what moves me.
Awesome. So what brings you now to the spotlight in Brazil? I mean, you only were a convert so little time ago.
Yeah,
and
3 years ago. Yeah.
You've got a massive following of Catholics in Brazil.
Yeah.
What was that?
Almost 800,000 followers on YouTube, and other social medias are so big, as big as this one. What brought me at this situation is before doing this Catholic journalism, so to speak, and analysis, I was concerned about cultural, political, philosophical issues. So because Brazil, we have this big and huge hegemonic movement of the liberals, so leftists. And I was battled with them, But in Londrina, where I live in south of Brazil, near São Paulo, so to speak, there was this inter-ecclesial event of the base communities of the church. And these communities historically founded were the responsible to give the mass of the people to the Works Party that now they put Lula as president of Brazil, and now he's in jail because of the crimes he did. And the ecclesial-based communities in Brazil were a very important movement to convince the Catholic masses to vote in this communist party. And so from the 60s to now, we have this leftist movement influencing the church. And so Brazil have this internal movement, but also externally. If you see, for example, the history of the Vatican II, the Council, we have one of the most important progressist bishops there is Don Helder Câmara. He's the Red Archbishop. Yeah. And he was one of the responsibles to oriented the bishops to do the Catacumbas Pact that launched the liberation theology and everything else. He was one of the responsibles. Yeah. But on the other side, we have the other bishops, conservatives and traditional ones like Dom Castro Meyer and Dom Geraldo de Prensa Sigol and Plínio de Correia Oliveira, and they were the conservatives. Yeah. So the traditional Catholics fighting on the other side. So I one day I talked to Professor De Mattei, and he said, we can say, so to speak, that the Vatican II was a Brazilian council. I said, that's why it went wrong. So and now we have again Brazil in the center of the play for this great Amazon Synod. And we have, as you said, 63% of the Amazon is our property. Yeah. Right? It's our territory. And you're hearing real fake news about it. Yeah. Even coming from the church. And I'm trying to change this, even in Brazil, because we have a lot of disinformation going, bishops doing this disinformation. So I made a 4-hour series of videos, in 4 videos talking about this. And it had a huge impact in Brazilian church. Also in Rome, I heard that some cardinals are very worried with my presence in Rome. So I think this is good.
Well, praise God. It's great to get the truth out there and expose really the fake news. Yeah. And I think this is the thing. When you have, right now, there is a move to force on the rest of the church massive change that goes against the faith, all because with the excuse of the Amazon region, the indigenous people in the Amazon and the Amazon itself. But there is some very disturbing things going on because, to be honest, I think it's using the Amazon and the people of the Amazon to change the church, which is hurting the people of the Amazon as well.
So you're preventing them to go to heaven.
Well, exactly.
That's the point.
So what would you say are the pieces of fake news being shared? Just the top 3 or so, 3 or 4 pieces of fake news.
This also, for example, Cardinal Humes, who is the general rapporteur of the Synod, they say, okay, we have a big territory, huge, bigger than Europe, in Amazon. We do not have the sufficient number of priests to give people communion, the Holy Communion and everything else. But you see, we have, for example, Don Irving Krautler, he's a bishop in Amazon. He said in a German journal that he never, in 25 years, baptized an Indian, and he's never going to do it. So he's not concerned about sacraments.
Right. So this is, just so that everybody's clear.
Yeah.
This is a Catholic bishop.
Yeah.
In the Amazon.
Yeah. That lived all his life there.
Right. Yeah. So he's boasting about never having baptized. Now, baptism is that sacrament that makes us Catholic and gives us sanctifying life and enables us to get to heaven. He's boasting about having never baptized.
And he said, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And he's boasting now because this is for them interfering in their culture. But you see, we have to just step back for a second and see that all these bishops, come from the tradition of the liberation theology.
Mm-hmm.
And the liberation theology traditionally concerns with the poor, have their concern with the poor, the preferential option of the poor. I mean, but when you read, for example, the main author, Gustavo Gutierrez, which was or is in Rome right now,
Mm-hmm.
he said that the liberation theology is the critical reflection about the praxis. Praxis is a Marxist term to speak of a revolutionary movement, political movement already in course. And he said that the liberation theology was the reflection, the thinking about this movement. And at that time, in the 60s, 70s, they were thinking about movements in Brazil, in Chile, and El Salvador. And the poor were in the game. Mm-hmm. But now, as they were refuted by, for example, the Libertatis Nuncios, wrote by Cardinal Ratzinger at the time in '84, their excuse to use the poor ended. Mm-hmm. So they had to change argument, change issue, change the praxis, the object of the reflection. Mm-hmm. So now, for some, is the LGBT movement, the Negroes, or the Indigenous, or the Earth. Mm-hmm. Why not?
Yeah.
Because they call themselves now eco-socialists. Mm-hmm. That's why how they call themselves. So it's a new argument for the same idea, to use the church for, I don't know what kind of revolutionary movement. This is what we need to understand first. And so the main fake news they're spreading, for example, they are concerned with the sacraments. They're not, because they're not concerned about baptizing people. Mm-hmm. And they say, we don't have enough priests in Amazon. Okay, but what caused this low number of priests in Amazon? You did, with the liberation theology. You ended vocations in seminary. You destructed everything. And now you say we have to ordain women or married indigenous people, which I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's, it's not going to work. To solve a problem you have created. So what we have to do to change things in the church? No, we have to return before the hour and do the things how we have done for 2,000 years. That's the problem. And so, for example, the Amazon is burning. That's a lie, because everybody who lives in Brazil knows that this time in August and September is a time when the weather is very, very dry. And so it's very easy for the trees to spontaneously starting to burn. And we have a lot of winds this time, so it spreads very, very fast. And there is a cultural habit between the indigenous and those people who lives near the rivers to burn the field, to open space to new little towns, new little villages, and to plant some, crops and everything else. And their habit, and sometimes this fire just, spreads without control. And so this is the third lie they tell. Another one, for example, is that they are just reflecting an indigenous theology. So just think for a moment, John. Is this theology produced by indigenous people? Not. Because you don't have not one man there, which is born there doing theology. We have European theologians doing that, mostly German. Mm-hmm. And we know why. Doing theology for the indigenous and in their name, as Leonardo Boff, Gutierrez, and everybody else from the liberation theology did in the name of the poor, and used the poor to their political movement. Yeah. So they're trying to use again the church for their political motives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this is an amazing thing, because let's go back to Kuester for a second.
Yeah.
Kuester not only is a bishop in Brazil, and who came out to say he's never baptized and never going to baptize, but he's also one of the authors of the Instrumentum of
Yes, yes.
The authors of the working document that is now being used, which was approved by the Pope, by the way, and called apostasy by Cardinals Burke and Plantmila, and is now being used for everybody to work on. This is impossible. And
like a fair basis to discuss. It is not.
It's not. But I think your point is so perfect when you said that they say they're concerned about getting the sacraments to these people. So we need more priests, and therefore we have to ordain women and married Indigenous people, married men. And they're not willing to baptize the same guys. How can they be concerned about the sacraments? Yeah. By the way, in Catholic teaching, you can't receive any of the sacraments if you don't receive baptism, and they're unwilling to baptize. This is incredible.
Yeah.
So it's fake news from the start to the finish. It's absolutely
coming from the hierarchy. That's the problem. Yeah,
absolutely. And unfortunately, we have this situation where it seems the Pope has been not paying attention or doing this somehow, regardless of these facts, and they're out there in the public view.
Yeah.
That connection that nobody seems to have been putting together, that the same bishop, Kaudla, is saying he hasn't baptized, not going to baptize, and yet they're concerned by the sacraments, is just incredible.
Yeah. No. So just a point, John. They say these people need the Holy Eucharisty. They need that.
The Eucharist.
The Eucharistic. Yeah. They said they need that, but they also say in the working document, the Instrumentum Laboris, they say, we can start to begin to use another forms of rites and everything else to minister the Holy Eucharist to the people of Amazon.
Yeah.
They want to use like manioca. You say in English, yeah, manioca.
Oh, manioc. Yeah,
manioc.
Different type of bread. Yeah.
So they want to change all the elements. So they don't want to use bread and wine. They want to use other things that you have in Amazon. So maybe cocoa,
Right, which would invalidate.
Yeah, completely.
Because, so that's the thing in Catholic theology, in Catholic teaching, in Catholic truth, the only church.
So in the canonic rite, you have to.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be bread and wine.
Yeah.
So that would invalidate it right there. The most bizarre things. But I know why now people are paying attention to you and why I think you're a pain to a lot of people as well.
Yeah. And also, you see, I remember... Of course, I don't like, and I think he's a horrible person, Saul Walensky. He's a devil one. But he said something that reflects what these people do. He said, the issue is never the issue. And this is how these people think. They say, we have to give the sacraments. But is it that true? No. They want to use the pretext of the sacraments to change the church and to destroy it.
Yeah.
So if they want to change the church completely, in terms of government and sacraments and theology, why they do not go to the 9,000 Protestants, denominations or abominations, how I call it. Why they don't go there? Why they want to stay here and destroy our church? Yeah. That's the question. What's their intention behind this? So I think we have to take a closer look to the German Conference of Bishops, to the money that comes from the international foundations. We have to pay a closer look to the international foundations that are interested in Amazon and everything else, because I think there is this ecclesiological aspect, but I think also we have a geopolitical issue that is it's not in the public discussion until now.
What is that? So you're saying that there are kind of business interests at play?
Completely.
Really? Yeah. With the church?
Yeah.
And sort of the church colluding with this. The church in Brazil, the church in Germany?
Yeah.
There's a lot of money coming to the Vatican from the church in Germany.
Yeah.
You know that they get a tax from the people. And so it's a very, very wealthy church.
Yeah, it's the wealthiest, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Perhaps challenged by America sometimes, but it's unbelievable. So there's a lot of power. When Cardinal Marx comes to sort of lobby at the Vatican, he has a lot of sway because there's a lot of money being exchanged. So what are these business interests?
Okay, this is something I discovered just a few weeks ago. Because when I started to investigate this thing called REPAM, it's the Ecclesiological Network of the Pan-Amazonic, REPAM in Portuguese. And this network congregates a lot of other organizations, ONGs and NGOs and other corporation organizations in the Amazon that take care of the indigenous. And I started to look up at these organizations that helped this organization called REPAM, collecting the information in Amazon to build the preparatory document that was the basis to write the Instrumentum Laboris, the working document. So we have two documents.
Yeah.
And so I this is this bad habit, I call it's good one, always to check if some organization, NGO, receives money from the main international foundations, progressive and liberal ones like Rockefeller, MacArthur, Ford Foundation, Open Society Foundations. And I just took a look at the Ford Foundation that has a great interest in Brazil, always had, since the beginning. And I looked at, for example, we have our Caritas, which is, to take care of the poor, to help the needed. And they received, according to Ford's website, they received more than $820,000 in a gap of 7-8 years from Ford Foundation. So we have to remember that Caritas was the responsible for the foundation of REPAM, which is the responsible for the writing of the working document. And who is responsible for REPAM? The Cardinal Humes, the General Rapporteur. Oh, wow. And so we have also the CIMI, which is a Brazilian organization, which is the Indigenous Missionary Council. They received from Ford Foundation more than $1.4 million, which in our currency, you have to multiply by 4.5. So we have 6-7 millions reais, which are our currency, receiving from Ford Foundation. And we have to think that Ford Foundation finances abortion, feminism, gender ideology, and all anti-human, anti-Catholic agendas. So what's the interest of these people trying to influence this all these organizations? I have just cited for you 2 or 3, but I have a lot of them. And what's their interest? Because we have also the interests, for example, of the Norway. They invested $250 million in Colombia in rainforest projects to influence the environmental development there. And we also have the money from the German Conference of Bishops. Well, what I'm saying, to make the long story short, this money, mainly from Ford Foundation, Norway, and France, other countries, this money comes from big organizations. And big organizations have interests in big things. And what we have in Amazon, when people look at Amazon, they see big trees, big river, and big animals, because we have. But that's not where the treasure lies. The treasure lies beneath the soil. We have a lot of minerals. One member of the current government said that we have more or less, just an educated guess, we have $23 trillion there. Wow. So it's a lot. This is educated guess. We're not sure. These things are very complicated to measure. So we have a lot of riches in minerals and biodiversity. So you have a great international interest, because one of the proposals in the working document is to use the church, as I see it, as another way of doing propaganda to internationalize this little and small indigenous community. And think with me, if you are a big company, international one, or I don't know, another government, Norway, for example, it's easier to negotiate with the Brazilian state or a small indigenous town. You see where the problem lies. So if you have $23 trillion there, 250 million, it's nothing. It's investment. You see, so this is the issue. So why would Ford Foundation, that receives money from companies and big donors, why would they invest in Amazon? To take care of the indigenous, the poor people. They are not taking care of poor people in Brazil, because we have more poor people in our northeast. We have much more there, but many more poor there. But why don't they go there? We don't have their money there. We have their money in Amazon.
Yeah.
So the thing I think is they want to internationalize this small group of unprotected and vulnerable indigenous people that must be cared, evangelized, everything else. But they want to internationalize them because it's easier to negotiate. So, and these small groups of indigenous, we have more than 300 of them in the Amazon, they are influenced by these NGOs paid from them. So they pay the NGOs and they want to negotiate with them. So they do the both ways. They go top to bottom and bottom up.
Amazing.
You see?
And this is such corruption. It really is corruption. It's actually trying to steal a nation's wealth.
Yeah.
And yet, some of the people in the church, the left in the church, seems to be right in bed with this agenda. What are the church leadership who are corrupt getting out of this deal?
I think they're getting money. I say that with sorrow in my soul, but I think they're getting money. They're getting influence. They're getting properties. They're getting space, maybe in the church, maybe space which is being bought. I don't know. We have to speculate these things, but I think they're getting this kind of thing because when you see people that are very important, like Bernardo, which is the main eco-theologist, I made a video about him, showing that in a gap of 10 years, the Brazilian government, when was a leftist government, they paid him for conferences, blah, 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 like in dollars, like $5 million. The government paid him to make a lot of conferences. And I showed in my video all the contracts, everything else in government's website. And now he started to sue me because I exposed him because he's the defensor of the poor. And I said, no, what you did with this money? And so he said, I'm being intolerant, hate speech person.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm sure you heard that too about yourself.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
But to speak to that, now you're called intolerant, you're called a hater.
Yeah, always. Yeah,
but
it's a daily basis.
There's a problem with that. Okay, let's unpack what your real agenda is.
Yeah.
What is Bernardo's agenda with regard to exposing these things? Why? Do you hate Cardinal Claudio Humes? Do you hate Leonardo Boff? Or why are you doing this?
John, I want to be very clear. Friedrich Nietzsche said that if you cannot despise, you cannot respect. I despise them. This is true. Because I know, if I don't despise, for example, a murderer, how am I going to respect a person that preserves lives and fight against abortion? So we have to have the sense of proportion here. So I despise them, I don't hate them.
Okay.
Jesus said, love your enemy. And what is, behind this phrase? If you are to love your enemy, you have to identify someone as your enemy.
Right.
So, and I know they're my enemy and enemy of the church.
Right.
Not because of their thinking, because I don't know what their intention is, but because of their acts. Their acts show us that they are not working with the church, but against the church principles, 2,000 years principles. So what I'm doing, I'm just exposing facts and exposing the truth. Because frequently and on a daily basis, we hear only a half truth or a piece of the truth. That's true, but it's not the whole truth. That's the problem. Because Cardinal Ratzinger, at the time he was a cardinal, he said that the liberation theology is like a truth that went crazy, like a meta truth. And he was right because they take some element of truth. Yeah. For example, we have the problem with the indigenous people and they are not being evangelized totally, for example. This is true, but how do we solve the problem? So they propose the wrong way. So they use the truth and they show us the wrong options. So we have to discuss that. No? So, as I said, the issue is never the issue.
Yeah.
And so, what's the main motivation? Why I work in the morning? I wake up in the morning and do this. It's obedience to the truth. This is what moves me. And the truth itself is God. Mm-hmm. He said, "I am the truth."
Yeah.
So, in showing my love to God, my respect to Him, and I went also to undo all the evil that I did when I was a Trotskyist and a Protestant. So I have to pay, for that, all the wrong deeds I made in the past. So, and I want to obey the truth and to show people the truth. I never speculate too much. Mm-hmm. I talk to people and I say, this, the responsible is this person, and the possibility are these. Mm-hmm. This is enough. As we say in Italy, basta. Mm-hmm. And people conclude, they can conclude for themselves.
Right.
You're not talking to dumb people,
right? What is your ultimate thing? Because you said in English, at least in American thought, there's not that definition of despise and hate.
Yeah.
The difference isn't that clear. What's the difference, and what is your ultimate hope for these people, I guess?
This difference between despise and hate. Despise is not to appreciate the person.
Okay.
I not appreciate. I don't want to be their friend. Yeah. I want them to convert. I want them to go to heaven and be in the presence of God, having the beatific vision of God, presence of God. This is our ultimate goal. Well, Jesus said, go everywhere and preach the gospel, teach these people, baptize them. They don't want to teach, they don't want to evangelize, they don't want these people to go to heaven.
Yeah.
So my main goal is to, through the presenting, through this method of presenting truth, sometimes in a very fun way, because I do some jokes in my videos, mm-hmm. but presenting people truth. And truth also has the great power to take people to God.
Mm-hmm. Even your enemies.
Yeah. There was a priest in my town that he made this very bizarre masses in his church, in his parish. And I made a video and I talked about him. And then he stopped that. And I think he's converted now.
Yeah.
He changed, yeah. And I have daily basis, a lot of 10, 20 mails. People telling me, thank you for putting me again in the way, returning to the Catholic Church, or I converted myself to Catholic Church because of your defending the faith. So San Vincenzo Palotti, which is the patron of the laity, the layman, he said that we need to defend the truth and renew the charity, love. Mm-hmm. So this is how I work. So I want to despise these people, so not considering them as, oh my God, and not to respect them too much. They don't need that. So I'm not going to curse them or to beat them, but I'm not going to lie and say they are wonderful people. Mm-hmm. No, I'm going to say you are a bad bishop. You are. So you are a coward. Yes, you are. You do not govern the church. You don't sanctify your people, and you don't teach. You do politics, and you are selling the Amazon to foreign countries. So this is your blame. Yeah, I respect you because you're a bishop. Because if you weren't, I wouldn't respect you. So I think this is a sober position. It seems for some people like a hate position, because what should be a position if regarding a person, for example, John, you are in your house with their children and your wife, and a guy's entering your house telling you that he's going to take care of your children. When you go out, you just look at the window outside your house and you see that they are, pitching on children, he's poking them, he's cursing them. What you're going to do? You're going to enter your house and you're going to tell bad things about that person. Are you lying? Mm-hmm. No, we're going to say, oh my God, let's discuss your conduct here. No, you are a bad person. You are breaking the rules of my house. Get out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what we have a saying in America, we call it tough love.
Yes,
and it is. Yes, it's perfect. Tough love for even bishops who are supposed to be our fathers in the faith, but when they're fathers that abuse the kids, sometimes brothers got to stand up and go, That's just wrong.
Yeah. And people need to know, for example, that St. Thomas Aquinas said in his Summa Theologica, he said, if there is a public and great dangers to the faith, the faithfuls have the right, sometimes the duty, to question their superiors, even publicly, he says.
Yeah.
So that's our duty.
Amazing. What are your thoughts about the Synod's outcome? Where do you think this is going? How far do you think they'll go? It's just in the midst right now.
Yeah.
And what are we going to get out of this?
I think we have two steps. So we have now all the discussions that are going to happen, and we have the second moment, which is most probably Pope Francis is going to write the apostolic encyclica, or the post-synodal
Exhortation.
The exhortation, actually. Exhortation. I think the Synod is going to propose not all these absurdities in the instrumentum laboris. They're going to pick them, all the not so polemic ones. And then the Pope, I think the baddest thing that he could do, and I think maybe he will do, because he said that in a plane, he said that he could open a possibility of perversion of married priests in isolated places. He said that in a plane. I have the video. And so I think that is a possibility, but ordaining women, I'm not going to I think he's not going to approve that. And I think he will some way, consciously or unconsciously, contribute positively to this agenda of internationalizing these indigenous people. I think he is going to be one of the outcomes. And why I'm saying that he's not going to permit this, and I'm saying that the Synod is not going to propose all of these heretical positions. There is a technique of changing people's behavior that it was exposed in a book of Pascal Bernardin called Machiavel Pedagogue. Yeah, it's a very good book. He's a French researcher, and he shows us that there is a technique of changing behavior called foot at the door. So what do you do? For example, I'm in your house, and I knock your door and I say, John, I need to put a very big billboard here in front of your house. And, it's going to block your view, but think of the I don't know, the mayor wants to do it. You say, oh my God, this is absurd. I'm not going to do that. No, please don't. They say, okay, I'm just going to put a chart here at your door. Can I put it here? Okay. If it is that size, it's okay. You see, so you make a very strong,
sort of a ridiculous proposal.
A ridiculous proposal, perfect. So you make a ridiculous proposal. The person gets frightened, and you say, okay, so just this, and you accept. I did that when I was a child. Yeah, I was at school, and after the test, my mom said, "Oh, so how did it go?" And I said, "Oh, Mom, I got an F." She said, "Oh my God!" I said, "It's just F plus." I said, "Oh, it's not so bad." You see, it's just like that. I think it's going to be something like that. We're going to see, oh, okay, it's not ordaining women, they're not changing the Eucharistic, but okay, they're permitting married priests. You see, but we cannot change our conviction that we are not going to fall for this kind of game in a way.
Amazing.
Yeah, we have to be aware, like a snake. Jesus said that.
Yeah.
Meek as the
doves and
wise as serpents. Yeah.
Very good. Well,
yeah.
let's close off, Bernardo, with your advice for Catholic young people to stick with their faith. What would you say?
Very simple. 4 things. As I say, all in my conferences, I always say that. Please have a very serious and daily praying life and liturgical, sacramental life. So pray as the end would end tomorrow, and have your sacraments as the first time. So go with that love, having the Eucharisty. So we have to believe each day, each time, that Jesus is there completely, totally. This is the first step, because if you don't have that, if you are in a state of grace, aren't in a state of grace, you do not have the seed of the sanctification yourself. So your Christian life, your Catholic life is nothing, just an emptiness. So if you're not, you have to confess. First step. And then second step, a life of studies. But you say, okay, Bernardo, I have 25 kids, I cannot study. I say, close yourself in a bathroom, half an hour a day and study. You can't do that. So go to a park or stop in your lunchtime, study half an hour a day, take the catechism or book of St. Thomas Aquinas or something else, study that. It's going to do very well for your soul and your sanctification knowledge. Because Jesus said that we have to love God in all our heart, mind. So we cannot adore and love God with our mind. So this is important. 3, have a life in communion with other people, because they're going to help you with their problems. So, for example, I'm here in Rome, and my family is like 10,000 kilometers here from. So, who do I ask if my sister, for example, has a problem there? I call my friends, because my father is in another city. If I have a problem myself there with somebody is pursuing me, want to make me harm, doing some harm to me, I call them. They can help me in prayer. They can help me with some intellectual problem. They can be with me in some heart problem. I don't know, if I lose my mother, for example, they can help me. So this is important. And 4, have an apologetical life. And this is the last step. So if you do not accomplish the 3, the first 3, you cannot do apologetical life. So defend the truth and announce and try to renew the charity, the true Christian charity. This is the most important thing, John.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Bernardo, thank you so much for
I
being
thank
with
you
us on this John-Henry Westen Show.
Thank you very much.
May God bless you.
That's all.
And all of you at home, check out Bernardo on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think you'll really enjoy it. It is in Portuguese, though. Is that
Yeah,
right?
some videos are translated in English. With that, you have to put their subtitle in English.
Okay.
Some videos we have there. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
And God bless you all till next time.
Hello, this is John-Henry Westen. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the John-Henry Westen Show YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. There you will find all the past episodes and much more. Thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.